Hello, welcome to Nintendo Nostalgia, episode 218. I'm your host, Jacob Rush, and I'm joined by my co-host, Ryan Black, Chris, and Josh. Welcome back, my friends. How are you doing?
I'm doing just fine over here.
Are we staying warm? It's been cold, like this
No,
kind of hit the whole country, right?
Yeah, it's temperate. I don't know, a little bit of a brisk temperature, but still pretty comfortable. So I can't complain. It's kind of pleasant.
Nice.
Usually takes me like about a week to adapt to the temperature, and then I'm fine. And it's like both ways, like hot or cold. Like it takes
Right.
me like a solid week, and it's
Yeah.
awful during that time. But once I adapt, like it's no problem whatsoever. It just takes me a little bit, and I'm in that cold part right now where everything is just super cold, and I'm like wearing thermals in my own house with like multiple layers, several layers of socks, and then I go out with like a coat and a hoodie on as well when I go outside to walk the dog, and like I can't get warm enough. I'm wearing like slippers on my feet, on top of all the socks, and just nothing is warm enough.
Right. Well, understand that for sure. I like the cold. You guys like the winter?
It's all
no.
right.
No.
I
I
love
prefer summer, but
winter's
it's
my
fine.
favorite time. Most favorite time of
Oh,
the year.
that's insane.
Fall.
No, why? Yeah.
I
I want to
like
be on a beach
I
somewhere
like the
right now.
cold. I like the snow and ice. I think it's beautiful, and it's surrounded by my most favorite holiday, obviously Christmas.
Thanksgiving.
And family time, and yeah, you go into a new year of new starts, new hopes, new ambitions. I enjoy it. I really do. I think winter is the greatest time of the year. It's better
I
than summer.
think I think uh, these and in like on Christmas cards, it's nice, with all
That's
the
true.
pretty winter scenery. But like when the snow actually hits, and then you gotta shovel and you gotta deal with like that gross melted snow on the side of the road and
Yes,
Sure.
it's
like
black.
in the snow on
There's
the
parts
yeah
of it for sure. I mean, and if a
yeah
winter can't overstay its welcome, I do agree. That's why I like Indiana because we get a good amount of different. We get the seasons, 4
hmm
seasons, and nothing ever stays too long here. But yeah, sometimes it's kind of weird because like by March, either we are getting like multiple inches of snow still and ice, or it's like Easter came early. It's really
yeah.
weird. I've seen it both ways here. So, but that's enough of this winter talk. We're not old men talking about the weather. We're here to talk about games and what we have been radical rexing about. Chris, what about you, my friend? What are you radical rexing about today?
Well, let's see. School's been going great. My classes are awesome. I'm doing really, really well in everything. So happy about that. I finally jumped back into gaming. I just wasn't really into it, and slowly but surely, I'm kind of falling back into the swing of things in that way. So over the past few days, I've been playing Yoshi's Crafted World, and I actually really like it a lot. I've only
Yeah.
played like 3 or 4 levels, and I don't know what anyone's talking about in like some of the reviews that I saw. I have no issues whatsoever. I do remember some critics saying like the music is really annoying, and so far it's been great. I think the music is excellent, at least in the levels that I've been playing. I think it's really appropriate for the environments and catchy and fun. So I haven't experienced anything too grating just yet. I've also been playing Iconoclasts, and apparently I'm not the only one here that's been playing Iconoclasts. But yeah, Iconoclast is one of like the last Switch games I like kind of dabbled in before my life got really hectic, and I finally have been like making progress. It's just such an awesome Metroidvania game. The music is phenomenal, and the gameplay is interesting. It's just and it's gorgeous. The pixel art is unreal. It's such a beautiful game. So yeah, Iconoclast. Also, let's see, Tumbleseed. Have you guys ever heard of Tumbleseed?
I have.
On
It was like
Switch?
a Switch early game, like that was really popular when the Switch first came out.
Yeah, apparently it didn't sell very well, which is really unfortunate. But I saw that it was, yeah, and I don't know. I always wanted it. It's the first game that was on my Switch eShop wish list, and I saw that it was on sale, so I got it for I don't know, like $4 or something. And the music is insane. It looks like unlike anything you've seen before. It's just this beautiful, crisp, I don't know, colorful game, and it's very interesting gameplay. I don't know really how to describe it. Like, kind of like you tilt a ball and like kind of protect it as it goes up this stage or whatever. It's really interesting. Um, and today I finally played a game that I last played on my very first episode with you guys and haven't really picked it up since. And that is Henry Hatsworth and the Puzzling Adventure for DS. And I just adore that game. If you guys are into platformers, and I know, at least Josh and Jacob, this game is really good for you guys. And even Ryan too, I think would appreciate it. It's just like a really quirky. It's so good, and yeah, it's like a very, I don't know. It's kind of like Banjo Kazooie in a way, in like 2D form, except you don't really go back to levels. It's more linear in that way, but it has like a very British sense of humor. There's like
Cool.
that jibber jabber talk that Banjo Kazooie has, and it's actually very
It's on
funny.
the eShop.
And no, this is a DS game, so you'd have to get a physical
Oh,
cartridge of it. But I don't think it's too expensive these days. Um, yeah,
I
it's
want
just
to
like a
try it out.
very solid platformer, but like you platform on the top screen and you do a puzzle at this kind of at the same time on the bottom screen. And the better you do on the bottom puzzle screen, the better like the better items you get in the top platforming world. So yeah, check that out. And
Awesome,
yeah, that's pretty much it for me. What about you guys?
man. Well, I want to go because I usually save myself for last, but I want to jump in and just radical Rex. Nothing too crazy. I'm just trying to maneuver through life of having enough money to buy my kids, girlfriend, and her daughter Christmas, and still somehow pay my bills. So, I don't know. Well, just kind of playing it by ear with all that stuff, but did get a bunch of stuff out of the way for the kids on Saturday, and I do know part of my Christmas, and this is kind of taking the fun out of it, but I did decide I wanted a big item, and I asked my mom, and so I went half in on it with her, and I'm getting a brand new television for Christmas, nano color. It's like, yeah, it's called like nano color something, LG. It's
Hmm.
55 inches, and
Nice.
I mean, it's really sweet. I mean, I did a lot of research and checked into it, and um, it's one of those things where you just kind of, when you see the difference of like, I don't know, maybe this is how Xbox dorks and PlayStation nerds are compared to Nintendo, where like they don't want like a system that can't play the highest resolution. That's kind of how I am with the television. I'm not that way with Nintendo, obviously, just because I loyal to them and I love them. But like with televisions, I was just like, I want the best bang for my buck here because I'm doing this for the visuals, not the franchises or anything. They don't do that. So this LG TV is really really awesome. So I'm not gonna get much as in quantity for Christmas, but I am getting a big item that will bring a lot of satisfaction for many years. So and then get my kids a kitty for Christmas. So um,
And
that's
Cat?
yeah, a cat. I'm not sure if it'll be a kitty or the age range. I don't know.
That's awesome. I love cats.
Me too. Me too. Can't
If you
wait.
need any help
I
with
miss
that, just let
Millie.
me know.
Sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, me too.
Dogs are better.
Mm. No, they're not. Dogs are a nightmare. No offense, Ryan.
Roscoe.
They're both good in different ways, I think.
But Yeah, so that's really what I'm radical rexing about. I'm really happy about all the Switch news too. Just to see how well it's selling, even with the new system, new gen systems out. I think the Switch is still dominating. Likely so due to the amount of how much a switches are in the wild now as opposed to the new stuff. But it's still really great to see Nintendo keeping on, and I just have a feeling that Nintendo's really gearing up for something big early next year, and I think it's going to be the next, the Switch Pro rumors that we're hearing about, and I think there's just been a lot of. This has been a perfect year for them to keep a lot of stuff hush hush, anyways, and look what they give us still sells big, man. I mean, Calamity, the new Zelda, Hyrule Warriors game it's already sold over 3 million. It's the best selling game that company has made of what they're known for making, and that's really really cool. So I'm excited to see what Nintendo's doing while they slowly distract us over here with their left hand with all these little things, and then boom, they're going to hit us. I'm telling you, we're going to be hit with some big trailer, direct announcement, or whatever, and we're all going to be like, oh my gosh, where's my tax check? Where's my tax check? I think something big's coming, guys. That's all I'm saying. How about you, Ryan?
Me? Oh, Radical Rexing. Let's see. I beat Ori in the Blind Forest, so that was pretty cool. And then I hopped into Iconoclast again. I'm getting ready to go to the
Yeah.
moon, I guess. I don't know if that actually happens in the story or not, but that seems where things are progressing. So
I beat
I'm
it.
I'm there, wherever that means. I'm not sure how far in the game I am, but
Yeah, that
um,
game, side note about that game, I loved that game too. And that was my must get, I think, for you, Ryan, wasn't it? Like a year ago or so?
that was just a birthday present.
Was it? Oh, yeah, that's right. We all chipped in for you and got it for you.
Yeah.
Didn't come until like way late, but yeah, that game was one of those games where I thought like the game was going to end here or going to end here and in here, and like I thought it would end like 5 separate times, and it never did. It just kept going. So
Hmm.
which is kind of a good thing. I mean, uh, when I love a game, you never want it to end, and I'm sad when a good game ends too soon. So that's good for that.
Cool.
Sorry.
No, you're all good. And then Pokemon Go, I was able to transfer stuff to my Pokemon home, transfer some shinies. I finally have a legitimate and I'm training up a Dunsparce that's shiny. Finally got a shiny Dunsparce in Pokemon Go, and I'm just gonna make it as competitive as that could possibly be. Not very, but probably paraflinching just for the fun of it. If for those of you who track Pokemon stuff, I always tend to gravitate towards the paraflinching combos. So other than that, like Traven the other day was like, "Hey, just wanted to let you know, Fight Crab is on sale." I'm like, "What?" And so I totally picked up Fight Crab, and I am enjoying the heck out of it. Like over the top, amazing fun with crabs.
What more
I
could you ask for?
It's amazing. Like
Right.
every bit of it. It's weird. Like the controls are strange because you're actually controlling like the different sides of the crab
Mm.
with like different buttons, but then also like um, different movements and stuff. It's a strange control scheme, but it works really well, like with flailing limbs and random weapons, attacking. And your goal is basically just to flip the other crab over, and you can team up with friends online. Me and Traven teamed up, and we took down. We played in this area where the crabs kept dropping from the ceiling off the chandelier, like riding a chandelier down and dropping onto the scene, and we were throwing all kinds of things, and yeah, it was just completely quirky. And like the more you play, the more cash you get to unlock more crabs, different types of crabs, and more weapons. And as you play, you get like more stuff unlocked, and it's a lot of fun. It's just I'm like over the moon about this.
We should play together, Ryan, because I got mine in the mail like a couple weeks ago.
Awesome. We should totally play.
Yeah, I haven't touched it yet, so I'm looking for a reason to do that. Cool.
Josh?
Well, for me, mostly I've been spending a lot of my time game wise in Age of Calamity. We like the first Tower Warriors quite a bit, but the story was a little weird, I guess. But with this one, I like how they like stuck with the Breath of the Wild world and decided to grow on that and that story a little bit, um, in its own fashion, so to speak. But I really like the direction they took with it. And it's like the deeper I get into it, the more like actual surprises there are. And I don't want to give like anything away here, but there's more to it than I thought there would be, and
Mhm.
I'm quite happy with it. I've been playing a lot of it with my wife, going through the story co-op and things, so I'm really happy with that one. Um, Other than that, there's a couple other little games here and there I've kind of touched around on. I really was kind of excited for that Immortals Phoenix Rising game that comes out Friday. I did have to cut it off due to kind of having to pay off some other things here first, but still kind of looking into that, maybe picking it up down the road.
And crappy
Um,
reviews.
it's been decent reviews, like some 7 out of 10s and things like that. But no, especially like if I get it, I'd probably get it on the Xbox, just from what I've heard about the Switch version. But unfortunately, that I did not get a review copy of that for whatever reason. So yeah, we'll see. Other than that, I guess I still don't have a whole lot exciting going on. I swear, one of these days that has to change. Um, yeah, that's all I got. So we move on to the topic.
Guys, it just got a little colder in here.
Speaking of the cold and getting into the winter seasons and approaching Christmas, we love to do themes within that month. And today, our listeners is all about some of our top winter villains. Chris, just like Radical Rexing, I vote that you should start us off here. We're going to go round robin with all this stuff, and we're at the end. We're going to vote to see who has the best picks
Cool.
out of this bunch.
I am honored. So, all right. I guess I will go with a nice villain that means a lot to me, but I will say it was kind of like an unremarkable boss fight, but I just thought it was really cool because it happens to be in one of my favorite video games of all time that nobody's heard of, and I am okay with that. So I would say it's definitely in my top five. I'm not sure where in the top five it lands, but Big Bang Mini for the Nintendo DS is one of my favorite games of all time. I cherish it so much. Have any of you guys heard of it?
No.
If,
I don't think
that,
so.
that's my game. That's one of my choices.
Wait, no. Wait, really?
No, I'm
No.
just kidding.
Ah, I was like, I don't know about
What?
this.
I've never heard of it.
So yeah, Big Bang Mini. It's hard to describe because it's such a DS game. So it's basically like an arcade shooter if you had to give it a genre. And so you basically have something that you have to protect while all these things are flying around on the screen. And so the whole theme of the game is fireworks, and so you flick your DS stylus to on the bottom screen, and you shoot it at the top screen, and yeah, you shoot it at the top screen, and you hit enemies to kill them, and so after each level you get a constellation and you connect all the dots and you get like a special little picture. But anyway, that's like a side note. So yeah, in Big Bang Mini there's bosses, and each like there's all these different themes in these worlds, and so and they're all completely different. They have very different art styles and totally different types of music and fonts and themes, and it's wild. It's a crazy arcade game. But anyway, um, so the ice boss for Big Bang Mini is a walrus, and I love this boss because It's basically a punk walrus that is riding on a magic carpet, and he's wearing a leather jacket, and he has a mohawk with sunglasses, and he's just like this really rad looking walrus. And so that's like 90% of my reasoning for choosing him. But in this boss fight, it's pretty cool because it takes advantage of the two screens. So he's on the top screen, you're on the bottom screen with like your snowball that you're protecting. You can't have anything hit that snowball. And so you're flicking fireworks at the walrus, and he's slowly depleting in health. And as he takes damage, he changes in appearance. So you see his like tusk break, and his hair's all disheveled, and like his fins are all ripped up, and he just looks like he's just like overwhelmed. So it's just like it's kind of funny. And he just looks kind of traumatized. But my favorite part of the battle is at the end, where you not only have to protect your snowball from things coming at the top screen, but now you have a whale that appears on the bottom screen, and you have to like watch out for like the blowhole water stuff that's coming at you and this like gust of wind. So you just have to protect yourself from the top screen, from things on the top screen and things on the bottom screen. So that is my personal pick from one of my favorite games of all time.
Go ahead, Ryan. You look like you want to say something. Try not to cut you off.
Oh yeah, sure. So I had to pick. I love ice themes for everything. So I could pick like 1,000 different ice enemies that could be my favorite. I love that aesthetic, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But these are kind of my personal like villains. Like they may not have struck someone else as like very villainous, but for me, like they were like dastardly villains in my experience. So my
That's
first one is very akin to Chris's pick actually, and the very radical look, very cool look, with sunglasses and sporting some pink shorts. That is the polar bear from Ice Climbers.
Not
Um,
surprised.
I
you
knew
know,
it.
you wait too
I
long,
knew
and that
you
polar bear
would do
comes
it.
out,
I knew you would pick an ice climber rep.
causes the earthquake to happen or whatever, and causes the level to shift up, and so you could fall into the pit faster if you're not careful. If you let the polar bear hang out, but you can also jump up on the block below him, and he kind of like skips off on one like foot, like he's slipping and slips off a screen, and it's just really cool. And it was awesome to experience him in Subspace Emissaries, I believe it was, where they include him in Smash Brothers in some form. Um, and or maybe it was maybe it was the 3DS Smash Run. I'm not 100% on that, but yeah, it was awesome just to be able to see him. And then he also appeared in a couple of Ice Climber levels, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But yeah,
melee.
I love that bear and hate that bear at the same time because that was like my first major villain that I went up to as a little kid and recognized and like, oh, that thing is pure evil.
Yeah, why don't we have an ice climber adventure game? I don't know why.
I don't know. It's like the only Nintendo like franchise that has started on the NES and never came back in some form or fashion
I think they could
besides Smash Bros.
do a lot of cool things with it personally, but
Yeah, you never know though. Kid Icarus, had a really long break, and then when they brought it back, he came out with I don't know what the phrase is. What guns slinging? I don't know. Whatever.
Guns a
But yeah,
blazing.
they guns ablazing. There you go. Thank you. Yeah, I was like, no one swings guns. What are you talking about?
Chariots
But
ablazing.
hey, whatever. But as far as bears go, it's probably in the top 3 best bears ever in video games.
there you go. Josh, what about you, man?
All right, so my first one, I'm going to go with my more boring pick probably here first because I figure a lot of people are expecting something of the sort. My first one is going to be Bleak from Donkey Kong Country 3. So yeah, that is my only rare choice, or even Platonic for that matter, on this list. But for you all who are not aware, he is this big, kind of fat, evil-looking snowman, kind of typical looking. He actually resembles if you played Clay Fighter, Bad Mr. Frosty quite a bit. But one reason I actually really like him is the boss fight in Donkey Kong Country 3 is way different than any of the other fights, where it is one where if it's sort of like these swanky bonus levels in that game where you're sort of looking like over Dixie or Kitty's shoulder, and you have to throw like snowballs at him, and he's shooting them out of his like helmet, which was kind of a weird
Mm-hmm.
concept to begin with.
Yeah.
And that, and also his laugh. For some reason, I always liked his laugh.
Something like that.
Yeah, I can't do it, but yeah, I always thought that was cool. I always thought it was sort of a unique boss fight,
Parker's
and
gonna
it,
love
it
you.
definitely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like that game. Now, and he's
So
also,
does
of
he.
course, in Donkey Kong Land 3, but that one it's more like a side-scrolling boss fight. He's still shooting
Mm,
stuff out of his hat, but it's not quite the same.
right, right.
Probably just due to the limitations. But
Sure.
I always thought he was cool. One of the first things that came to mind. I know it's not a big baddie that sticks around and shows up in a bunch of different games. I don't even think he's appeared in any Smash stickers or trophies or anything like that. But there you go. That is my first one.
All right, nice pick. And I was saving this for my second pick, but I think I'm going to bump up to my first pick, mainly based off of what Josh said. And my first pick here is going to be Sir Slush from Banjo Kazooie, which is basically the same guy. And he is somebody who gave me a really hard time. He's just really annoying, and he does have that laugh where he's like, and he throws a snowball at you, and it always kind of freaked me out,
Oh,
especially when I wasn't looking at him because I knew something was coming at me. And there's a lot. I mean, if you're not careful, you're gonna get pummeled with nice. I should have put that punk down. Um, uh, yeah, you're gonna get pummeled with snowballs from all directions. So it's very very annoying. The enemy is annoying. You got to take them out as fast as you can in Banjo Kazooie. At least that's what I try to do because I don't like to have them linger around. So they're a villain that they're not like outlandish, but they were someone that gave me a personal time. So my nostalgia says I hate those guys, and you just there's something that sticks out in my brain. So and they're in the winter level, obviously for Banjo Kazooie, which is a Christmas themed level. So but yeah, that's my first pick.
I forgot about that guy. He's like terrifying. He's like, yeah, he's like one of the scariest parts in the entire game, even like out of the actual scary levels and villains.
Yeah, for sure. Well, back to you, Chris.
Okay. Well, my number two pick, this is one that I thought of immediately when we thought of this topic. So I think you guys might have played this game and got to this guy, but one of my favorite ice villains is the Ice Monster from Luigi's Mansion 2 Dark Moon. Have you guys played this level in this boss?
yes, I
Yes.
have.
Been a while
Okay.
Maybe.
though, but yes.
Right, yeah. What did you say, Ryan?
Maybe. I don't remember much of playing that game.
Okay.
Yeah, Ryan doesn't play
Um,
good games.
I mean, he plays Fight Crab, so. But this is a boss that I actually only just recently completed. It was a lot harder than I expected. Like I just had so much trouble with it, but I just love the concept of it. So the ice monster is basically you walk into like a shed or something, like a cabin, and a ghost comes out of nowhere and like possesses like a puddle or like a I don't know, a sheet of ice on the floor, and he becomes this ice monster and just starts burrowing his way deep into the earth. And so you conveniently have a sled kind of slip under you, and so you go into this tunnel, and it now switches from third person, which is what the entire game usually is, to now a first person's perspective, which I thought was really interesting, a good way to kind of mix it up. And so as you're going down this like ice tunnel into the earth, the ice monster's like his head is twisting around, and you have to kind of shoot like bombs or something to break the ice to kind of expose the ice monster's face, And it's interesting because he kind of his head spins around clockwise, so you have to time everything just right, and take into account that extra second of the bomb kind of dropping into the hole. So I just thought that was really interesting, and it's a great use of 3D. So when you turn up the 3D slider, it just looks really incredible. It's a great use of like depth perception, and then you kind of like face this guy in like a room. He stops possessing this ice sheet thing and becomes an actual ghost, and he like charges at you, and then after a while you just like suck him up, and you do that 3 times or so. So it's basically the same thing, um, over and over again. But I think it's interesting because like each time you shoot a bomb, he lowers himself a little bit more, and so that takes into account some extra time for you to shoot the next bomb. So you shoot a bomb, you expose a little bit of his body, he goes a little bit further, and so the time that it takes for a bomb to reach him increases just a tiny bit. So you kind of have to take that into account when you try to defeat him. So it's interesting. It's a very very fun concept, and I just thought it was a very clever, unique take on a typical ice boss. And for the record, before I forget, I don't know if you guys had the same experience, but I had a lot of trouble finding a good ice villain. I feel like out of all the themes, just ice is not the most. I don't know. A lot of ice villains just were not too spectacular, so it was a bit of a challenge. So yeah, but I think we found some good ones at least so far. But yeah, that is my number 2 pick. Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon's Ice Monster.
Very unique choice there. I mean, I like it. I'm glad you brought that to the table. That is a fun boss fight that I do remember vaguely playing against twice in the arcade version and in the 3DS version.
Whoa, what? In the arcade version?
Yeah.
Yeah, the
That's what-
arcade of Luigi's Mansion. It's literally the same game, just ported to an arcade. You use a live vacuum. And
Wow.
Dave and Buster.
It's
Okay,
it's
that's
fun
awesome.
stuff.
I was about to say, oh, I can't wait to give that a try, but it'll be about a year before I'm able to do that.
Right, if they're
Dang.
not all shut down by then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I have the game on 3DS, so I will work with that.
Cool. Ryan, back to you.
All right. And I keep flip flopping my second and third picks. So I'm gonna lock them in now. My second one that I picked is not necessarily considered a villain. In fact, I wouldn't think anyone would consider him a villain. But to me, it was the most annoying villain, the most annoying part of Super Mario 64. And that was the dang mountain that would blow you off course, off
Yeah,
the mountain, off that bridge, and you had to like use the snowman, or
that's good.
was it a snowman that you had to like use like to get across? Like
Penguin.
is it
You had
penguin?
a,
Okay, yeah.
it's both of the things that you hate most in that game: the giant penguins and the snowman.
And like it just like blows you right off. You lose your hat too, and
Oh,
like
it sucks.
sometimes you like end up outside the level without your hat, and you gotta go find it again, and the stupid
Yep.
coin purses, and just the level is great, but that part and being like kind of patient and waiting and like clipping like the box just right to where it blows you off the mountain again, like the most frustrating thing ever. Like
That's
instantly
unique.
like worst villain in my experience.
That's unique. Not bad.
I like that.
Joshua, we're passing the ball back to you, my friend.
All right. So my next choice here, this one is what I called before we started, sort of my cheating option. So I'm fairly certain it counts. I'm changing the rules here for myself conveniently. I'm picking. I'm gonna say her name wrong, but I'm picking Kotake or Kotaki maybe. Um, but that also includes Kaum, whose name I also don't know how to pronounce. But together they would be Twin Rova for you all who don't know what I am saying.
Very good.
From
Very
they
good.
started off in Ocarina of Time. Of course, one of them I do not know how to pronounce this, but Kaum is the fire one and Kataki is the ice one. But of course, when you first meet them in Ocarina of Time, they are I sort of like their backstory here. It doesn't go much into it, but they are the surrogate mothers of the Gerudo king Ganondorf. So apparently they took care of him, but you first find them um, kidnapping the one Gerudo that is the sage in Ocarina of Time, whose name escapes me, but near the beginning of the Spirit
Yeah.
Temple there. And then their boss fight is sort of the really cool part where you have to use the mirror shield to use their own powers against the other sister. Like the fire, you would have to reflect back at the ice one and things like that. Um, so I always thought that was a really cool and creative boss fight, a really good one for near the end of the game. Um, that not only like tests your combat skills in that game, but also gives you sort of a puzzle to work with. Because if you can't figure that out, you were pretty much screwed.
Right.
Um, so I thought that was cool, and just I know this isn't exactly just the one character, but them as a dynamic always that was kind of funny. Like after you kill them and that they're still arguing as they're
Yeah.
like dying.
Yes.
Um,
It's funny.
and they also pop up in Majora's Mask. Granted, they're actually good characters in that game, so I'll kind of skip over that one.
They're so
They also
ugly
pop
too.
up. Well, they also pop up in Oracle of Ages and Seasons if you have like the Link games. Linked,
Mm.
just to make sure you heard that
Yeah.
right, not linked
Yeah.
in the per character, but
Right. Right.
because they are working on, if I remember correctly, they're working on bringing back Ganondorf. So they're almost sort of the main villains, so to speak. I would say behind that whole, you know, both of those games. So I thought that was pretty cool. They're more like they're akin to their Ocarina of Time versions, I would
Yeah.
say there. But yeah, I always thought they were pretty cool, and I'm kind of sad to have never seen them back. I thought there could have been more of a dynamic to explore with that, like with them, their connection to Ganondorf and all of that sort of thing.
Hey,
Yep, that's my
Breath of
pick.
the Wild 2. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. Good pick, man. Well, I'm gonna go back to what my first one was. I really only switched just because correlate with what Josh had for his first pick. But my second pick, which was originally my first pick, and these are all in descending order, so my favorite will be my very last one. Uh, I have. It's kind of funny. It doesn't have a unique name.
Yeah, a lot of ice bosses don't really have names. Like, I had to search everywhere to figure out what the Luigi's Mansion boss's name was, and it's just Ice Monster.
Yeah, it's terrible. Well, this one's not much better, and it is Ice Dragon from Kirby's Dream Land 2.
I just never played that one.
Yeah, so all my picks are just really nostalgic. They're what I remember when I think about villains and Winter Icy villains. What came to my mind, and these were the villains that came to my mind. And I used to play, because there was an era where we did not have Super Nintendo, as I've said a million times on this show, and we had Game Boy, the regular fat gray Game Boy. That was my system from the NES to the 64, and with that, I played tons of Kirby, original Kirby's Dream Land and Kirby's Dream Land 2, and this boss, as a kid, was tough and freaked me out. And every time you got to him, you ready to take this dude out, and he would be shooting ice sickles on the ground, like kind of like a fast pace, and you would have to suck those up and shoot them back at him while avoiding him either jumping on you or him making spiked icicles from the roof falling down on you. So that was one of my first snow villains I really ever faced, and he's one who sticks in my mind to this day strictly due to nostalgia. So he's not. I think he might have made reappearances in Kirby games. I haven't played every Kirby game that's come out, but he definitely was a baddie back then. So stuck in young Jacob's mind for sure. Chris,
good pick. Cool. Yeah, that's a good pick. I keep meaning to play the Dreamland games, but that's a Game Boy game, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'll have to look into that. I don't. It might be on the Kirby collection, like the Wii.
It is.
Disc. Oh, great.
It is. I have it. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, I picked that up recently.
Awesome. That's a good pickup. That's a rare pickup.
Yeah. I got it for a really good price too. So I would say that my number three pick is Josh's pronunciation of those ocarina bosses. No, I'm kidding.
I think I said Kentucky, right? I think.
I could listen to you pronounce their names all day long. That was really
I'm a West
entertaining.
Virginian trying to say Japanese.
That was fun. Let me throw out like a couple what's it called? Like runner-ups, honorable mentions if you don't mind. So I found a good few picks, and it was hard for me to really narrow them down because they're all so different, and it's like, how do I base this? Is it like nostalgia? How interesting they look? How interesting the boss fight is and stuff. So I kind of did a mix of all that, obviously, but I really liked, and I hope I'm not saying any of the ones that you guys are going to pick, but mine are a little more niche, I think. One of them was Metroid Prime 3's Rundus, like that guy who kind of like skates on ice, and like he just kind of, I don't know, hovers around on like a strip of ice or whatever. I just thought that was like a really cool artistic design in a way, but when looking at the battle itself, it was kind of blah. Like it just looks cool that he flies around on ice.
Yeah, that is
So
cool.
yeah, and all the other Metroid, yeah, he's a cool guy. I like the She-Goth and Thardus as well. One recent one from like an older game that I really like is Chill Penguin from Mega Man X. I love that whole boss fight. Love it. It's just so cool and interesting. So I like that. And I mean, I have many more picks, but I'm gonna end with at least with my honorable mentions with Sniffberg the Unfeeling from Yoshi's Woolly World, which is basically a shy guy that for some reason has an inflatable ice around his head, and it's just first of all, he's really cute. But it kind of goes from like a 2D boss fight into a 3D one because he kind of goes into the foreground or background, I don't know. And it becomes like kind of this like 3D battle, so I thought that was interesting. That was going to be one of my picks. But anyway, my last actual pick is from The Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes. And I'm pretty confident that no one else has chosen a Triforce Heroes boss, but great game. But yeah, this one is called Blizzagia, which is a pretty cool name for an ice boss. And so basically, it starts the same way that any other boss fight in the game starts. It's completely quiet, the music stops, and there's like a few chests where you can get your last minute items in and your hearts in right before it starts. And so you land into the arena, and he emerges menacingly from like this ice cave, and it's this giant snake, this ice snake. And so he basically emerges from this ice cave very menacingly, and he has this like rock mask. It's like this very cool like viper mask on his face, and his back is just covered with like icicles and just ice everywhere, and he has a very like, I don't know, invincible tail. Like you can't touch the tail. And so it's just this really interesting boss fight because you want to smash his mask to expose his vulnerable face. You want to get the ice off of his back, so you have to work together to do that, and you have to avoid his tail. And it's really interesting because he's moving around and slithering around the arena in very like unpredictable ways, and so as a team you have to work together to kind of get all those things done. So it was just a really fun dynamic, I thought. And towards the end, he kind of makes the arena, he like changes the floor from like being a regular rock floor to being an ice floor, so it becomes slippery. So that mixes it up really well as well. So I don't know if you guys ever played Triforce Heroes before, but
Did, but did not get very far.
okay, yeah, it's understandable. But you have to, sometimes you have to like stack on top of each other. And, you didn't do this that much with this particular boss fight, but towards the end, you could have, because he's not just like slithering around on the floor, he kind of like goes upwards as well. So there's the potential for you to stack and use that to your advantage as well. But I just thought it was a very clever, interesting take on an ice boss, making it a snake, having him have ice all over his back, and needing to work together to smash all this ice off and expose him. So, yep, that is my last pick, and that is again Blazagia from Triforce Heroes.
Very, very far left cut there. That's good though. Like didn't expect a Triforce Heroes character, and the cool part is that like at least, especially even with those type of games, you find out with that one and the Four Swords is that they just really made boss fights unique. I mean the whole game it's all developed around gameplay of using three separate characters, so it was bound to be a unique boss fight. Anyways, that's a good choice, man.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a very, very unique experience, especially with other team members.
Ryan, what about you, man?
I'm glad you had some honorable mentions there. There's a few that I tossed off my list, namely like the Sheegoth, the baby Sheegoths especially. But I thought Thardus was more in line with like ridiculous villains, and but that's just my opinion on that one.
Ridiculous how though? Like
Not in a
what
good
was
way.
ridiculous? Oh, okay. Um, I thought
We've
Dorky, if
already
you
had our
will.
debate about why that boss is awesome, and Ryan doesn't think so.
I
I
think
think
he's
like
very
if
And
we're
we
going for
proved
like
him
creepy
wrong.
vibe, like the Blizzetta or whatever, from Twilight Princess, basically Yeto
Oh
goes
yeah,
all
yeah.
evil on you.
Oh dang, I totally forgot about her. And that one
Oh
is
gosh,
That's
yeah.
that
pretty
one is
scary.
freaky. That is freaky.
Yeah.
You are right.
never got that far.
Super
Wow,
freaky.
That's a
Um,
cool temple anyway. Anyway, what
that
sort
was
of
good,
temple?
Ryan. That was
Anyway,
good.
go ahead.
but that was just my runner up. Come on. No, but actually the one that was like more personal villain for me, and it almost ruined the game for me. Like it frustrated me so much, and actually ruined the character for me. I was gonna be really excited. I heard that this existed in the game, and I was like, I gotta catch this thing, And so
Pokemon.
catching is kind of giving it away. But yeah, Pokemon, Black and White. I did not play Black 2 or White 2, but I did play Black and White. And you get to the bottom of this really, really, really like dark ice cave, and
Mm-hmm.
the details completely
Ice
like
Dragon.
escape me now. But getting down to like this, it was awesome that had this fusion of ice and dragon type. Like this is gonna be like the coolest Pokemon ever, And I get down there and I fight this Kyurem, like ice dragon. Like this is so cool. It's so mysterious. Like it's got like broken wing and like there's like ice covering it, and it's just like super like intimidating. I absolutely just totally into the ice vibe, and I'm gonna love this Pokemon. And then I literally spent 3 days trying to catch this stupid Pokemon. The RNG was ridiculous. I could not catch it. And it wasn't the fact that the boss was too hard. I could feint it easy.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times the thing struggled to death because it just would not catch. Like nothing I did
Mm,
would catch this thing. And I'm one of those people that never uses the Master Ball, like
and you did.
ever, unless it's like some like crazy shiny like legendary or something. Like I won't use it. And so like I determined like I was just gonna keep trying. And for 3 whole days I was working on this Kyurem. And by the time I got to the point where I caught Kyurem, I didn't care about the Pokemon anymore. I hated the Pokemon. Like I was like, this is a
Hmm.
terrible way to like ruin this awesome experience. I thought this was gonna be like my favorite Pokemon ever. Didn't see what the model was. I just heard that there was an Ice Dragon legendary. I'm like, this is amazing. I got down there, it was so mysterious, and then like the whole like RNG thing just completely ruined it for me. And that's quite like there's no other like ice villain like was this experience basically. It was this Kyurem boss, this Pokemon that just would not catch. Like it was awful.
I'm sorry.
That
Black and White wasn't really good anyway, so
was my first completed dex though.
Wow.
and I've kept a living dex ever since then. Actually, no, I had a completed dex then. I didn't have a living dex until X and Y, but
What does the Pokemon look like? I'm not familiar with that one.
He's like
like
long and gray, and he's really kind of ugly.
like a long necked dragon with like a broken wing. It's got like ice kind of cover it in different places. Kind of like has an ice head around it, like yellowing eyes with
Yeah.
black face ish.
Okay, I'm gonna look him up. Sounds interesting.
It's Kyurem, I believe.
Okay, thanks.
Well, interesting pick, Ryan. I'm sorry that your experience was ruined. But Josh, what about you, man? You got some honorable. Apparently, we're throwing out honorable mentions this round too. So, what you got, man?
Oh man, I wish I would have had a list ready actually. One I'll almost put in there instead of Bleak at first was I didn't get his name, but the polar bear from Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze with
Oh
the
yeah, he's good.
popsicle.
Yes.
I thought that was
Yeah, he's
just,
good one.
especially just because the intro was funny, where he's got like
Yeah.
the little popsicle in his hand
Yeah.
and they knock it off. And he gets mad because of it, and then like he continues to turn colors as he falls into
Yeah.
the juice or whatever.
Yes, that's a
That
great
was
That
fight,
was a
awesomely
pretty
done.
fun fight.
man.
Yeah, yeah. There was a few others really. I swear I feel like I'm forgetting a good handful, but the one I really wanted to slip into here was is quite ridiculous, and I don't even think I'm ready to describe this one. Um,
This
and
is
there
your
might even
choice.
be, yeah, this is my choice here. Just to get to the point here. Whoever is editing this might have to watch some of this guy's quotes. It is Sumo Santa from Clay Fighter 63 and a third.
Wow.
I don't know if any of you all played that game or have
No,
witnessed this character.
never.
Okay, so nobody else except for me. Okay, well, you're in for a treat if you ever check that out. I'm not a big fighting game person, but I just never really have been outside of Smash.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason, back in the day, I think I first rented it at a Blockbuster, but I
Mm.
had Clay Fighter 63 and a third, and this guy, like, I think you had to put in cheats to get him. At least that's how I got him. Um, but you might want to look him up. It is he is apparently, at least according to his bio, is an evil clone of Santa Claus who has tried to take over the North Pole.
Wow.
Long story short, he works with the main villain, so he is a villain character to try to take over the world, but he can't until he takes out Bad Mr. Frosty and the Clay Fighters,
That's
so
funny.
on and so forth. So yeah, one reason I really liked him, especially like the age I got to play this on the 64, was just some of the ridiculous stuff he said, like, and I guess my dumb sense of humor. Um, to throw some of it out here, and again, I apologize if some of this is a bit. There's no language, but if it's a little bit risque,
Mm-hmm.
we might bleep this part. Um, I'm not gonna say it like he does, but like jingle this all the way. And then one of his moves is the Kringle Crush. I'm gonna add you to the naughty list. Santa's gonna sit on your lap.
Oh my.
Yeah, I won't say that one. I'm gonna stop there. But basically, if you go and you play it and you see it, you kind of have to be there. But it's just completely ridiculous. It fits the tone of the game pretty well. I don't know if it's the best fighting game, so to speak. To me, I always just button mashed it anyhow. But this was one that always sticks out, and I found myself quoting, like years after, at least
Yeah,
around people that would be familiar with it, just
that's
kind of
funny.
being funny.
Yeah.
He always stuck out in my mind, and for some reason, he is one of the first things that popped up there when we started talking about the topic. So there you go. That is, I don't know if I'm numbering mine, but if I am, there is my number one choice.
There you
I
go.
I fully expect them to bring this game ported over with the Switch online with when they bring 64 games around.
Well, if we
Great
do,
take.
we'll all have a fun online fight.
Yes.
Oh
Well,
boy.
good, interesting choice, Josh. I need to look this guy up. I've never even heard of him. So, but good. Rare pick there too. Everyone's got some side picks that no one expect, which is great, except for me. I don't really feel like I have, but I guess since we're doing honorable mentions, one that I wanted to do because it always comes up in my mind, but I did not go with this because I felt like the game is just way too new. And that's the Ice Golem from Mario Rabbids. I loved that fight. It gave me a hard time. I just
Yep.
thought it was so fun, so unique. One reason why I loved that game, the gameplay. Ice Golem from Mario Rabbids is my runner up with him because I just feel like he's way too new, and I wanted to base my picks more on nostalgia.
Right.
But no, that is a fantastic fight, and if you've not played that game, you guys really need to go get that game. I love that game.
Yeah. A
Um,
little biased for it, but yeah.
it, I mean, rightfully so. It's an amazing game. So my last pick has already been said twice since you guys started doing runner ups, and I'm going. Sheegoth is my number one pick.
Awesome.
Sheegoth is
Cool.
probably the most memorable image I have in my brain from Metroid Prime. It was the thing that intrigued me more than anything, because it was. I remember I always go back to this DVD advertisement for Metroid Prime that I don't even know how I got that DVD. I really don't know how I got it, but you could put it in your DVD player. I don't know if you guys remember this. Ryan probably does,
I do.
but you
Mhm.
could put it in, and it had like a trailer for Metroid Prime, and the Sheegoth was always showing off in that trailer, and her fighting it. It just looks so intimidating. I mean, and I remember getting the wave beam and having to, you that's what you get. You get the wave beam, and then the thing you get trapped in the room with it, and it was such an intimidating fight. It was early on in the game, and you're not very strong at this point, but it was a new way to test your metal. And the thing is very scary. I mean, it looks scary. It's very, you don't want to mess with that thing, you know. And if you're a younger kid, which at the time when the game came out, I was about 12, and I was 12, and it didn't like scare me and give me nightmares, but it definitely was an intimidating thing to face, especially if you're playing the game at night by yourself, you know. So I that one stuck out of my mind, and the babies too. You know, those things are terrifying. They're ugly, and I would love to see them come back in another Metroid game. But yeah, that is the image that pops in my mind first and foremost when I think of Metroid Prime is those guys in the whole winter snowy area. So, but yeah, that's my number one pick.
Nice.
Yeah, I totally agree that like for me when I think of Metroid Prime, I think of the adult Sheegoth too because so new to video games and it has such a menacing presence. Like when you first encounter it, it's just so monstrous and intimidating and stuff. And so I'll just never forget that feeling of first encountering it. And it's a really interesting boss fight too. So yeah, it's a good pick. Yep.
Very, very good pick. I tend to like think of like the baby Shigas because that's like the first thing you come across,
Mm-hmm.
and then like being able to like plasma beam them later is pretty satisfying.
Hey,
But
now,
yeah,
now.
it's just it's really cool.
Cool. Yeah.
Just the aesthetic and the fact that like there's a giant one. You know, you fight all the babies. I hate to see what the giant one looks like, and then like going up against that, it is so intimidating.
Well, the babies were cool too because you had to break their shell before you could
Mhm.
actually really do good damage to them, and that was just always a unique little task to do when you encountered, especially more than one of them too. You know.
Mhm.
Mm. Especially because it's like a 3D thing, not something you can do in with the 2D games because you have to go around them to do that. So that was kind of interesting to figure out and get through that. What were you gonna say,
I
Josh?
totally forgot a runner up. Actually, I apologize. I really wanted to bring this one up. It is, I think it's actually just pronounced Goat, Goht from Majora's Mask. If anybody else remembers that one,
Yeah, I
um,
do.
it's the one you have to fight with the Goron. I always thought that was like the coolest boss fight. I don't feel like a lot of people appreciate that one.
I thought about it, but I didn't want to choose it because of my mind. Even though it's in like a winter level, there's nothing snowy about that boss. Like there's
Yeah,
no ice, there's no snow. It's
he
just he's just in that temple. It's kind of
Yeah, that was one reason I actually didn't include it. But yeah, I did want to bring that one up. That was always one of my
Hmm.
favorite boss fights.
it was really cool to run around as a Goron and spike it up and hit that thing. That you are right. Yes. Well, we gotta vote. We had a lot of options. Well, we want our top four, and then we want you guys, the fans, this week to just vote which one out of the top four that we narrow it down to do you think is the best choice here of the top snow villains that we brought to the table. So, and let us know if you guys had any ice villains that come to your mind nostalgically that we didn't bring up. So, guys, what do we think? Who should be? Let's start with the bottom. Who should be maybe that can be like our runner-up category. Who should be the number 4 there?
Well, how about we pick our own favorites, like our favorite picks of the ones that we selected?
Oh, like each other's.
Yeah, because it's going to be
Yeah.
hard to rank,
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
So for me, I think, and feel free to disagree if you want to make a case for something else, but I don't even think, excuse me, that you guys even are familiar with my other picks. But I'm gonna go with the ice monster from Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. I think that's my top contender. And let me just say what the other ones are, even though I don't think you're gonna disagree with that pick. The punk walrus from Big Bang Mini, and Blizzagia, the snake from Triforce Heroes. But again, I don't think you're gonna really. That's gonna sway you anyway.
Okay. And what about you, Josh?
Out of my own choices, I believe I know what would be number one here. As long as this still counts, I would be going with. Here I go again. I'm just gonna say Katake because I'm pretty sure I'm saying her
Okay.
name right, or at least close to it, or Twinrova in that sense. I think that one has the strongest fight, so to speak, and the coolest backstory and character and that sort of thing. I almost went with Sumo Santa there, but I don't think very many people know who that is.
Well, what was your first pick, Josh? Like the one that you didn't mention yet?
Oh man.
I almost did it. I'm just gonna say Twinrova, even though I'm really kind of going with Kuima and Katake on their own.
Cool.
Okay. But wait, who were your three picks? It was them, and then
In order, it would be them, and then Sumo Santa, and then Bleak.
oh, Bleak. Okay, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I support that pick.
Ryan?
Yeah. I had Polar Bear, the Mountain in Super Mario 64, and Kirim.
Who's your number 1 out of your bunch? Who do you want to be your number 1? Who do you think is your
Oh,
number 1?
Probably the Mountain in Super Mario 64.
Nice.
Ooh.
That is hard to beat.
I my vote is for the polar bear. I just think that's a really cool polar bear, but you pick whichever one you want. That is a good, interesting, creative pick, though. The mountain.
Mine, I'm going with Seagoth. That's my number 1. I think that's the one that stands most out in my mind, and I had the greatest. It was the one that wasn't even like frustrating. It was just a crazy experience I had, which is a good thing. So yeah, that's Seagoth.
Cool. So I guess our top four picks are Ice Monster from Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, Sheegoth, the Mountain from Mario 64, and Kotake or Kayum. I forget which one.
The witches from Ocarina. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. Yeah. Well, for fun, out of our honorable mentions, which one do we think would win if there was a 5th slot?
I'm going to. I I can list a few if you want, but I personally think, even though I haven't played this one, I've seen videos of him and he looks pretty cool. One that Josh brought up is Bashmaster, the which is technically the name of the polar bear from Tropical Freeze.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've seen videos of it, and I just think that's a very cool, interesting ice boss in general. Like it's a polar bear with like a ice hammer or something. You're on an icicle. Like it has all the ice things to it.
Definitely.
I agree to that. Yeah.
Josh votes for Bashmaster. Ryan, what about you? Do you have a different pick?
Ryan votes for Thardus.
I mean, I'm probably gonna toss it to the polar bear, but I really like that Yeto boss. That was pretty terrifying from Twilight Princess. So I think
Oh.
between those two. But if it came down to it, I'll probably swing towards the polar bear.
Yeah, I was gonna
Tropical
say
freeze.
Bashmaster is
Man.
is definitely. I mean, honestly, I'm kind of sad that I didn't pick him for my main list.
Yeah, me too. I should have. Maybe
I
Blake
mean,
should have sat that one out. Yeah.
my girlfriend actually is playing Tropical Freeze right now, and she just did that boss fight like a few days ago, and I was watching her do it, and it was just fun to watch. And I was just thinking, like, man, this guy was really he's probably my favorite boss fight in the whole game. Um, I guess maybe I wasn't trying to be too cliche with picking about a game from Tropical Freeze, I guess, but no, Bassmaster definitely would get that imaginary fifth slot. Sounds like he should be your number one now.
I know. I think he won.
Might have to kick someone off.
I know. We could kick off that stupid snowman. Just kidding. That guy sucked too. Well, guys, that is our picks. Thank you for listening, and make sure you interact. Josh, as long as he doesn't get banned from Twitter, he should be posting a poll up about this, and it'll be fun to see what you guys have to think. But Josh, why don't you go ahead and do our due diligence as well, and where they can find you in the next 30 days, where you can interact with people again.
Okay, so I'm not even going into that joke right now. But you can find us at Nintendo_NOS on Twitter. Of course, you can also find us on Facebook at Nintendo Nostalgia. Also, check out the Facebook group there for Nintendo Nostalgia. If you need to find that or a link to it, just let me know. And we are also on Instagram. And yeah, that'd be about it.
Well, anyways, thank
think
you
you can
so
start.
much, Josh and everybody, for entertaining us with this winter episode. And we will be back next week playing with some more power. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Later,
Bye.
Kristen.
Jingle this all the way.